Over 1,000 years ago, a 10th century historian and geographer named Al-Masudi, also known as the Herodotus of the Arabs, wrote about the construction of the pyramids in his detailed histories of the world using ancient sources lost to us today. Al-Masudi attributes the construction of the pyramids to a group of people known as the Mazil, who were believed to be giants or ancient inhabitants of Egypt. He describes them as a powerful and skillful race that built the pyramids using their extraordinary strength. The ancient Egyptians themselves traced their history back thousands of years earlier when the gods ruled the earth. Could the gods be the ancient advanced inhabitants of Egypt? In this video we will explore the evidence that there was an older, more ancient civilization before the dynastic Egyptians. They even suggest this idea. Many academics consider it an attack on them personally and demonize and slander any alternative viewpoints. We see this with Graham Hancock being banned from Egypt for having ideas that don't conform to the current dogma. Historian Al-Masudi's account of an older culture building the pyramids has been largely ignored by Egyptologists. However, Al-Masudi was not just some random historian who wrote a few things down in his time. His extensive travels and meticulous research earned him a reputation of informative and detailed historical accounts. Al-Masudi's most renowned work is Meadows of Gold and Mines of Gems, a vast historical and geographical encyclopedia that spans over 30 volumes. Al-Masudi not only provides historical accounts, but also incorporates cultural observations, legends, folklore, and personal anecdotes from his own travels. He critically evaluated the reliability of his sources, often highlighting discrepancies and contradictory narratives. He aimed to provide his readers with a comprehensive understanding of the world, taking into account different perspectives and cultural diversity. So for him to say that he thinks the pyramids were built by the Mazil is significant and should not be ignored. In the 9th century AD, Egyptian pharaoh Al-Mamun ordered an excavation to be carried out on the Great Pyramid, motivated by the belief that it contained hidden treasures and secrets. Due to the casing stones on the pyramid, there was no clear entrance visible. Supposedly there was a button that you could press to reveal the real entrance. However, Al-Mamun could not find it and instead broke right into the pyramid. Upon reaching the inner chambers, they discovered that the burial chamber was empty, even though the casing stones were still intact around the Great Pyramid. How could it be empty in the king's chamber when no one had gotten inside? Ancient Egyptians had very detailed written histories, and not one shows the construction of the pyramid or who did it. Ancient Egyptian sites are known for their extensive hieroglyphics covering columns and walls. If we look inside the Great Pyramid, we do not see the same style. No names or stories are written within. Writing the names of the deceased prominently in tombs was a way to ensure their eternal existence and memory. The ancient Egyptians believed in the concept of an afterlife, where the deceased would continue to exist and be remembered by their loved ones. By inscribing their names in the tombs, they ensured that their identities and accomplishments would be preserved and acknowledged in the afterlife. Secondly, the inscriptions acted as a form of protection and identification. The ancient Egyptians believed that the deceased would go through a journey in the afterlife, facing various challenges and encountering deities who would judge them. By including their names and titles in the tomb, the deceased could assert their identity and legitimacy, ensuring that they would be recognized and receive the appropriate rewards and blessings in the afterlife. Modern researchers say that the Great Pyramid was a tomb for a pharaoh, but we have found no hieroglyphics, no mummy, no grave goods in a sealed pyramid. The pharaoh who made this pyramid would have wanted everyone to remember who built it and be remembered forever. However, there are no hieroglyphics about the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Perhaps it was not a tomb, or perhaps it was made by an earlier culture with different religious practices. Perhaps the pyramids are older than we once thought. Another argument for an older pyramid construction is the presence of geological and seismic anomalies within the Giza Plateau. Some researchers argue that the erosion patterns and weathering seen on the pyramids and surrounding structures indicate a longer exposure to natural elements, suggesting an earlier age. Additionally, seismic studies have identified potential cavities and voids beneath the pyramids, raising questions about possible pre-existing structures that could have been incorporated into the pyramid complex. Some say that below the pyramids are older structures in caverns that were used before the pyramids were built. We do know they are built on natural hills which were important culturally. Some argue that the positioning of the pyramids, particularly the Great Pyramid, corresponds to specific celestial configurations, such as the alignment with certain stars or constellations during particular epochs. These alignments could suggest an intentional astronomical knowledge predating the traditionally assigned construction period. The dimensions of the pyramid also suggest a deep knowledge of the world. The Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned to true north within 3/16 of a degree. Some say that it was perfectly aligned to true north, but with the shifting of Earth, it is now slightly off. Also intriguing is the number 43,200. The number 43,200 holds significance in ancient timekeeping systems. It represents the number of seconds in a day, with each second representing one solar year. If you multiply 43,200 by the perimeter of the base of the Great Pyramid, you get the circumference of the Earth. If you use the same scale of 43,200 and multiply it by the height of the Great Pyramid, you get the polar radius of the Earth. This means that the pyramid is like a scale model of the northern hemisphere of Earth. Critics may say that this is mere coincidence that it lines up like that, but the Great Pyramid is so large that its construction and layout would have to be precisely planned. The ancient Egyptians were not supposed to know that we live on a globe or the precise dimensions of the Earth. Perhaps they did and were encoding that information into this massive structure. Or perhaps an older and more advanced culture built the Great Pyramid. Another reason the mainstream view of the pyramids is wrong is the methods used to determine the age of the pyramids. Carbon dating, for instance, relies on organic material found within the structures, which could potentially be contaminated or affected by later renovations. Ancient Egyptians as we know them began around 3100 BC. That's around 5,000 years of material that could be in or around the pyramids. All of this material will surely influence data gathered around the pyramids. Alternative dating techniques, such as optically stimulated luminescence dating or advanced geological analyses, could provide more accurate results and potentially support an earlier age for the pyramids. Although researchers have been overall reluctant to employ these techniques in a meaningful way. Maybe someday we will find evidence of an earlier Egyptian civilization with these new techniques and new sites found. The mainstream researchers should explore new theories and not get caught up in what they think they know and find out what they do not know. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.